Well, hello and welcome to this episode of Journey to a Dream, brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance. And actually, this is something of a revisit to a previous episode because I'm joined by two guests, one in the studio and one by the powers of technology over WhatsApp. Where are you, Jack?
I'm in England.
England. Can you be more specific than that?
Oxfordshire.
Oxfordshire in England. So we'll talk to Jack again in just a moment. But Jake Roberts is here. And Jake, I was trying to remember how long ago it was that we had our initial chat when you came in with your partner, Abby, and we were just talking about looking forward to the year ahead. And what a few months it's been, eh?
Yeah, it's been a pretty crazy year. I didn't actually have a sidecar to ride at that time last year. It was all just up in the air. And here we are. It feels like about 12 months later. It might not be. We'll have to double check that. But yeah, it's been crazy to say the least.
I think one of the initial highlights, if we look back, will obviously be TT. I mean, just in a nutshell, give us your point of view of how that all went and what you were doing, who you were riding with.
So I got asked to ride with Dave Molyneux. We're close anyway, but just saying that out loud, he's obviously a bit of a legend. So that come about in about November last year. It was all under wraps while we just finalised a few things and like what we're doing with the bike and bits and pieces. And yeah, I just sort of had to go with it and believe that I could do it. And we had a bit of a nightmare of a TT. 4 full laps of practice completed. I don't think any of them were like flat out practice laps. They were sort of riding around issues, so we didn't have to get the boys from the grandstand down with the recovery again. But yeah, and then straight into a reduced race. But well, first of all, we broke down in the first race at Ballacrane after about a 20-minute delay, so that was an absolute nightmare. And then went out in the second race and kept seeing pit boards that said P3, and I was just like, what is going on here? And then obviously ended up getting on the podium, which is still pretty mental and surreal even now talking about it, to be fair.
It really must have been something else when you came up that return lane, and not only did you achieve your dream of racing in a TT, but to finish on that podium. And great as well for Molly to be back on there too. I think there were so many people rooting for him. I mean, can you remember that moment as he pulled in?
I can remember Jack will agree as well, you can never seem to remember when you're actually out riding the bike, but from coming out of like the Nook all the way down that road, I was just thinking this thing better not blow up, because we got one last pit board coming out of Craignabar and it looked like about 100 people hanging off the bank and this one bloke with a P3 plus 10, and I just thought, oh my god, I nearly burst into tears then, and I thought, bloody hell, got Hilbury yet, it's like flat out in 6th gear, keep yourself together sort of thing. And then we come up out of the Nook and I was just thinking, oh my god, I think we've done it here. But then you start questioning everything, don't you? And then you start slowing down. It's quite an abrupt stop, to be fair, from the start line to where you pull in. You've got to throw the anchors out a bit, nearly come off the bloody thing then. And then I just seen Dave going like absolutely mental, and I thought, I wasn't second guessing it at all, but I was probably just shocked, to be fair. And we were coming up the return load, and I think it was Paul Phillips sort of wandered out from the wins enclosure and held up a number 3 and waved us in there. And after that, it was just, I couldn't really see through the tears, to be honest. But the biggest thing I remember from turning into there was seeing Ryan and Callum, first of all, who'd bear in mind just done the double at TT into the 120 mile an hour club, and all they were bothered about was seeing, well, Dave and myself come into there. But yeah, it's just mental.
I mean, I can see just still on your face just how much that meant to you, and I'm guessing the rest of the day might have been a bit of a blur. Not long after that then, Dave Molyneux announces his retirement. So where does that leave you? Well,
that was always the plan, so I knew that from day dot when he asked me to come up for a brew, and that's nothing out of the ordinary between myself and Dave. It was general sort of thing, seeing him every so often, and we were upstairs and he obviously said, do you want to ride with me? And then he said, well, this is going to be my last TT, so no pressure for starters, by the way. And he just said that he believed in the package that he had, and he just wanted to go out and have one last good TT, and I think that was just icing on the cake. But I truly believe if we'd have broke down somewhere or finished 4th or anything, I think his mind was already made up, to be fair. It was his 60th birthday the November before, and then his 60th race start. I think all the officials were saying it was 59, but I mean, Dave counted them out with me there in the workshop. He was adamant it was his 60th race start. So 60 and 60, and now 31 podiums. So ridiculous, really, isn't it?
It really is. So, I mean, interesting that obviously you had that knowledge. You knew that this was going to be a one-time out with Dave Molyneux. Did you have a plan already formulating for what was going to happen afterwards?
No, I was just, from the moment he asked me, it was just full focus on them 2 weeks and just throwing absolutely everything at it. Gym work, revision, watching onboards, absolutely everything, just completely focused on it. I mean, I must have been a nightmare to work with and live with or whatever, because that was literally the only thing going through my mind. But when you've got Dave Molyneux standing in front of you telling you that he believes in, well, not only me, but the package that he's going to put under us, and he believes he can do well on it, you've got to sort of step up to that mark. And it seemed an absolute task, to be fair, and it was, but we managed it somehow, some miracle.
I just wonder, Jake, if you could go back and tell Jake in September last year what was going to happen, whether he would have believed it.
I'd have probably laughed, to be fair. I mean, I was still riding on the wave that but I'd finished 5th in a British Championship and got a podium or 2 along the way, and then was in this weird sort of lull that I'd never been in. And to be honest, I come up for that interview with yourself and I was a bit lost at that point, because I was just like, I've never been in this situation. But I would say we're there again, but we're not, as we've got Jack on here for. But it's just exciting times again, really.
OK, so we have got Jack Russell on the line from Oxfordshire. Just talk us through how this partnership started out.
I don't know, to be fair. How long have you known me, Jack?
I first met you, Jake, when you were, to be fair, you were a dot. I want to say you were probably about 4 or 5. So yeah, back in 2008, 9, when I was racing the Manx Grand Prix.
George had grown up in the paddock, eh?
Yeah, exactly, that paddock life. So yeah, once you're in it, you stay in it. But there was never a question in my mind. I looked at that kid and I was like, that kid is going to be a TT podium winner. Yeah, it's in the blood, isn't it? So yeah, long may it continue. Another 20 years of racing, hopefully, with me. So that'd be great.
We've had that conversation, Jack. You can't passenger till you're like 40. As long as I've really raced, I've always known Jack, and we've always got on and had a good laugh whenever we've seen each other anywhere, to be fair. Jack, UK short circuit meetings, anywhere, and well, Jack come to me actually, but I don't know what sparked that, his end, or I'm sure he'll tell us.
Yeah, we did. Well, we obviously see each other, in the holding area before we go out for practice or for races at TT and everything else. And like Jake just said there, I've known him for years, so we always give each other a little cuddle and a good luck sort of squeeze, and off he goes. So for myself, yeah, I mean, I got chatting to him. I sort of spoke to Vicky about racing the 700 and Scarboroughs. Certain race meetings are on certain sort of mindsets. Unfortunately, certain ones weren't, if that makes sense. So she's a fantastic passenger. I did speak to Jakey at TT and said, look, do you fancy doing the 700? And that's, I guess, where it stemmed from. That's where the sort of partnership grew from. So it was a case of, just get Jake on. Obviously, he's got the deal with me as a driver. I mean, I don't consider myself very good, but since we've had Jake on, we've had a brace of good results. So I think a partnership sort of works. And is evident, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I think we officially may as well announce that we're going to team up for TT 2025 and obviously the 2025 season and hopefully onwards. We've got big plans ahead for myself. Bit of a change of pace from the 10-race challenge that we tried last year, or this year. But we're moving on and we're trying to focus on we're trying to focus on 3-wheeling, if I'm brutally honest.
Better bloody ad.
Well, it's where I've spoken to numerous people, and people sort of say, how do you jump off one, or what do you think to sidecar compared to solos? And obviously, I've only been in the sidecar paddock for 4 years or so, whatever it is, with COVID and everything else. But in those 4 years, it's been a massive roller coaster of I've always said it, the grin factor is a lot more from racing a sidecar than from racing a solo. From my point of view, I would like to keep that results going. We're aiming for podiums at the TT in the next year or 2. I don't have any doubt in my mind that I'm capable. Once we get the package right underneath us, we'll be battling with the best of them. Grin factor 10, and hopefully the results and the fun will go through. And it's a team sport, isn't it? And with Jake on the back, it's fantastic. I've thoroughly enjoyed the last couple of meetings we've done. So we're going to keep that momentum rolling and build for 2025.
Exciting times ahead. And Jack mentioned there the Southern 100 again. I mean, a meeting that was hampered by the weather and all sorts of frustration around that. But again, putting the results in. Talk us through that meeting for you.
Well, to be fair, when Jack asked me to do the Southern 100, David said prior to TT that he might do it, he might not, and then when I seen the look on his face when we were sat in the awning having a beer afterwards, I could just see he was just content with everything. And I left it a bit, and obviously Jack had messaged me previous, but we're both on with separate things, and I just sent Dave a message and I said, so are we doing Southern 100? And he said I'm happy with what we've done, and that was it basically. So it was almost full steam ahead for me and Jack. We stumbled, well, I don't know how Jack managed to convince Stu Bainborough to get involved with us on the sidecar, but that's probably another very key point to what me and Jack have been up to recently and the results we've got. And then we ended up getting on the podium at the Southern 100 as well, didn't we, Jack?
We did, yeah. I mean, to finish first, you got to finish. So, yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it was very much a shortened race with the red flag, but we were just in the right place at the right time. Yeah, we were lucky with it. At the end of the day, I mean, I was never expecting to be anywhere near the podium. I was aiming sort of top 5, top 6, and again would have been very happy with that. And I think sadly in the second race we just had a bit of a boggy start and got bogged down in the first lap, and that was it really. Unfortunately we sort of couldn't carry on that success from the first race.
I think we fought our way through, didn't we? And then literally the last lap we come out of Castletown corner and the bike just cut out, and I looked at the marshal and I was like, are you going to let me push this across the finish line? And she was like, absolutely not. So
no.
And then the race finished. And then she went, yeah, you can push it back now. I was like, are you joking? But yeah, to be fair, we just had a good laugh. There was a couple of gremlins we had with the bike, weren't there, and electrical faults, and we were still sort of, well, we have been for a couple of meetings chasing our tail, just making head and tail of things with the bike and just sorting it out to the way we want it. And yeah, we just had a good time.
Which is what we're going to continue to do as well. You know, we're always, since we've got sort of Jake on board and Stu's obviously dead keen to sort of develop the bike with us as well. Whatever you do to it, you're making notes and sort of making changes, seeing what they do, come back, make a new plan, and go again to obviously try and better ourselves. So yeah, team ethos is very much there, and we're really looking forward to sort of putting obviously a bike underneath us that's capable. We're still waiting just to hear what's happening with the reg changes, etc., for next year's TT before we make a finalised plan. However, once that's all in place, we'll be up the sharp end and get a little bit of a budget together and put some money into the right places, and make it stretch as far as we can, obviously, as we do. But there's no reason why we can't be up there, and give us a good bike, and it's a good pairing, and I've got every faith in myself and Jake. I think we'll have a good fun 2025 and onwards.
We're speaking here to say it's September, 9 months or so away to TT 2025. But what's really interesting for people, again, who aren't necessarily so involved in the sport, is just how much work goes in to getting you two there to the start line.
It never stops, does it, Jack? I mean, between Southern 100, we decided, we'll go to Scarborough. And I think it was the week later. And then we sort of took possession of Jack's sidecar. Now it's now got a Manx passport. It lives over here with us. And myself and Stu just put in absolutely silly hours, just basically stripped it down and sort of rebuilt it again, just finding little issues here and there, because Jack doing the 10 race challenge was an unbelievable task and an unbelievable, I don't even know, only he could think of that, to be fair. But when you spread everything, not just Jack too thin, and help around you, not that stuff gets missed, but it's just little things don't get maybe 110% attention, so we sort of put that back into the sidecar, and just most of it was electrical and bits and pieces and all the silly hours. Like I say, got to Scarborough and it ran mint the first Scarborough, didn't it? And then obviously there was an incident there with Lee Crawford, which luckily they were okay, but we managed to race round. I think the fastest I've ever gone round there, and I'm not sure about Jack, and managed to finish all 4 races in bar the last one in third, but then overall goes on that sort of thing over there, finished third again, so that was another podium we got. We
improved lap times and whatever else, so which is always what you want to do as a race team. So yeah, I think I took about 2 or 3, 4 seconds off my time, and probably the same for sort of Jake as well.
Which is a lot round like a 2-minute long lap, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. And again, when we go back next year, we'll be aiming to do the same again, and progress and keep that momentum going. But the planning stage started from the Southern 100, if that makes sense, Beth. We started discussing what and where and how we're going to do the 2025 race season. So the planning starts, and then you try and execute it as best you can. Unfortunately, it's a money sport. We all know this, so I rely on sponsors. I'm sure, a lot of the teams do. So that's what we're going to try and do, secure some little sponsors and put the best thing we can underneath us to succeed, yeah.
And Jack, if you're mainly focusing on the sidecars in 2025, honestly, I don't think you're going to know yourself.
No,
you are
I feel
used
like
to...
a different man from even saying it.
But you are used to really pushing yourself to the limit physically and mentally, that coming in off one machine, jumping on another. I mean, I don't think you can underestimate just what an ordeal that is. So to be able to channel all that into one class, well, I just wonder how you're going to feel about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a very different feeling, Beth, 100%. We are... used to sort of spreading ourselves thinly across 10. So now we're going to do one solo, potentially 600 or 1,000. We haven't sort of made that decision as yet. So we're still going to race a solo class, and again, by sort of making it a little more, basically focusing on that one bike. Again, we're trying to push ourselves up the order. My aim is top 5, top 10 at TT on solos and sidecar next year, and well, we don't know which bike we're going to choose yet, but if we can put a bit of money into that and make it a bit more competitive. I've never raced a tuned motorcycle round the TT course. I'd love to just be able to say, right, we've got a good bike underneath us, let's see what we can do, and that's the plan. So energy wise, it's going to be no different, I think regardless whether you're racing one bike or 10.
I wish you could see Jake's face. There's a lot of head shaking going on there, Jake.
I just can't understand that, to be fair. Racing one bike or racing 10. Like, I know what it's like getting up out of bed going, shit, I've got to race a TT course today on one thing. Jack wakes up in the morning and goes, hang on, I can have 10 more minutes here.
Yeah. Physically, though, I mean, I actually underestimated the sidecar in terms of physicalities. I thought it would be not sitting in an armchair, but compared to a solo bike where you're using your legs and jockeying the bike around and everything else, I did think it was going to be easy. I was very rudely awakened to the fact that it is definitely not. I actually think it's probably, in certain respects, more physically demanding, and certainly concentration-wise, I think it is. So you can't switch off. It's a TT course.
And you've got that responsibility for your passenger as well, I guess, from your point of view.
Oh, he doesn't
Absolutely.
think about me.
Oh, no, don't say that, Jakey. Don't say that. No, integral part of my life, passengers' responsibility is paramount to me. So safety is paramount. So, we'll be pushing on, but 100%. I know Jake, actually, to be fair, he is the biggest lunatic I've ever met. So I can't describe him, to be fair. It's hard to describe him, but full of energy, and I absolutely love him to pieces. He's awakened me to just pushing myself. So can't wait for it.
I think people are going to be very shocked at the Jack that comes to TT next year, to be honest. What's so exciting for us, which you can probably tell, Beth, by the way we're like talking about everything that we are so excited, is because we're on the sidecar and stuff like that, when it clicks and it gels, it just does. The first few times we went out, everything was great, and I think it was Scarborough was the first time we got there, and I just said to Jack, I was like, my aim, passenger and you, is for basically you to go out. It's quite easy to use this sort of analogy because he does ride solo bikes, but it's to get him to go out and ride that sidecar like it is a solo bike. And when I said before that he doesn't think about me, not like that in a conscious way, he always will, but I want him to be, the plan is he's going to be riding everywhere, sort of just knowing that I'm where I should be, and he can be 100% committed and pushing himself a bit harder. And he's ridiculously quick in a sidecar, and he'll never give himself credit for that, but the plan is that everyone should see that next year. I mean, all you got to do is look at his lap times from the few years he has been racing sidecars. I mean, he come last year and went straight out from a standing start and did nearly 109 mile an hour, which is, there's not many people that do that ever, really. So you're going to be a shock for sure, Jack.
Oh, what a partnership this is going to be. And I'm just curious, Jake, because you were saying this time sort of last year, certainly when you were forming your plans with Molly, you were a bit of a nightmare to live with. Are you going to be any easier to live with this year?
To be fair, I can hand on heart say this is the most excited I've been to sort of go into a season racing, only because when I rode with my first driver, Jacko, we did a fair number of seasons together, sort of 3 or 4, and we were just always concentrating on the British Championship, and we knew what the sketch was there. We knew where we were, who we were racing against. And then when I went with Dave, it was very much like, not the pressure's on me like he put any on me, but I put some on myself. So to go into this where we don't like that at all with myself and Jack, it's just like we know what we can do, and we just want to go out and do it, and we just well, I like riding the sidecar with him. I don't know if he likes riding it with me.
I love it. I'm the same, to be fair. I've never been more excited about sort of a 2025. It's not even, I keep saying it's TT. Everything's obviously focused around TT, but it actually isn't, is it? You know, we have a little bit of a road season. So with Scarborough, Southern 100, Manx Grand Prix on the solo classics and whatever else, and the focus of the TT, that is sort of my goal. And actually, we're going to be coming across and doing a few derbies. So
the full Derby Championship, please, Jack.
The full Derby Championship.
Jack just wants to live over here. You know, it's going to happen at some point, isn't it? Surely.
I'm not going to comment on that.
I would love to live there. I've looked at houses. Do you know what? It's on the cards. We're going to do it. We will do it. So just find us a cheap little caravan somewhere, and I'll move over next week.
Do you know, it's brilliant to catch up with both of you. And just Jake, just finally, we're talking about obviously looking ahead to the whole campaign, the whole road campaign for next year. But finance is obviously at the back of your mind when you're thinking about preparing. Have you had those sort of conversations with people? Are you getting that support in?
We're trying our best to, but like Jack said about the regs and stuff, before we've got a finalised plan, we're not sure sort of 100% on costs. I mean, costs are always in and around the same year on year going racing, depending on how much you're wanting to spend. But I don't want to say it's a dying sport, road racing, but it certainly seems that way with everything that's going on. It's just hard to do anything these days. Going to the shop's hard enough, let alone racing bloody motorbikes. But any help to any racer, whether they race bloody go-karts up to whatever, superbikes, it all goes a long way. Even if you're bringing tea bags up to us, it doesn't matter. It all helps. Either way, we're going to be racing, but the plan is to get as much as we physically can behind us in terms of finances. And when you say that, it's not just finances and people bunging your money, but like making new partnerships with people and companies and stuff like that as well. So because people just see a sticker on the side of the bike and go, oh, such and such has given them money, but that person 9 times out of 10 is involved in that team as well, which is, I think we've got a pretty mega team now, haven't we, Jack? That's good fun to have. I'm not going to say no one has as much fun as us, but we definitely have more fun than a majority of people in the paddock.
I think Jake actually summed it right up there. I mean, all my little sponsors that I've had and acquired over the years, you know, are sort of family friends as such now, and you know, we go around there for cups of tea. We have, do you know what I mean? It's not just a sticker on the bike, whether it's 500 quid or £5,000. You know, that's massively appreciated, whichever one it is. But from that point of view, it goes into the team. It benefits the team, but also we're not just sticking a sticker on the bike. Thanks very much. There's a shake of the hand, and away we go. You're as involved in the racing as any part of the team. When we're out on track, you can see that sticker, but know that you're doing your part to support two people that are very much aiming for big things.
Jack, Jake, it's been brilliant catching up with you. We wish you all the very best. We can't wait to follow your progress. I'm just wondering, how often do you two speak to each other?
As of recent, all the bloody time, because we've been racing so much. But no, you've got to have that sort of partnership with someone, haven't you? You've got to be able to send them stupid Facebook videos and stuff like that, and just general chit chat. And we're always having a laugh.
Well, I cut you short last night, Jake. I do apologise. We were on the phone for about half an hour, and I was like, "Look, I've got to go because I've got some other stuff I need to sort out." But,
I feel like we really are getting a glimpse here of quite something.
We do.
He come down in the Manx Grand Prix, right? I'm just going to put this out there. The Manx Grand Prix got rained off, and he just rocked up at my house. That's the level of partnership you need between two. He did give me prior warning, but I was surprised at how fast he got from the grandstand to my house. He was
I'll tell you what, the caravan's going to be parked in your garden.
Do you know what it is, right? And anyone Manx residents listen to this, right? If you ever go to Lagusto's in Port Erin, I think it is, or Pizza in Eastern Ramsey, Jack is obsessed with their pizza. He's never had a pizza like it, and obviously we live in Ramsey.
We can get some sponsorship from them if they do any sponsorship for the team. That'd be mega.
That's it. Just have a pizza waiting for you at the end.
How good is our sidecar going to sound, by the way, Jack?
Yeah, we are going to sound good, regardless of how bad we look, Beth.
It's going to sound...
We'll look amazing with helmets on, by the way, but take my helmet off, it's a different story, we all know that. But regardless, people will hear us coming.
And I know Chris Kinley always does it, but I think Beth should do all the commentary from when the sidecars leave the grid, so she can reference back to this moment of how good we're going to sound, because from my memory, our exhausts are pointing right at you guys, and we're going to deafen everyone.
Well, you cannot say we weren't warned. Jake Roberts and Michael Jack Russell talking about their fairly newfound partnership and looking ahead to 2025. We cannot wait. And as I mentioned in the introduction, both Jake and Jack have been guests previously on Journey to a Dream, and on the podcast page I'll pop the links to their previous ones. And actually, I was saying this to Jake after we finished the interview, it's just amazing and wonderful to hear his confidence, to hear just how much joy he got from this year and how much he's looking forward to the next season. As ever, if you would like to be involved with this podcast, I'd love to hear from you. BethSB@manxradio.com is the best email address. It's brought to you by Kawasaki Insurance, and if you'd like to find out how you can get covered, you can visit them, kawasaki-insurance.co.uk. And until the next episode, take care. Bye-bye.